Hey, Edgar. Thanks for calling my girl Shama.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, awesome. Let's see. Yeah, she sounded like she was just waking up too. She was just like,
I know. I called her right at 8. I said, hey, girl, I need you to answer a phone call for me. Okay. She doesn't pick up numbers she doesn't know. So.
Okay. Yeah, I left her like 2 voicemails, so.
I know. And I told her you guys were going to be calling, but I was like, you know what? Let me just tell her the exact number. That'll be a lot easier.
So, do you guys know what law we're in today?
I think 20.
20?
Hey, Macy.
Yo.
Ew, don't give me that low energy.
Yo.
Where is everyone anyways?
Sleeping like a bunch of weirdos. Dude, without my glasses, I'm fucking blind. Maybe that's why P. Diddy looks so pretty today.
What's up, Mace?
What's up, guy?
How you doing?
You know me, bub. I got my cup of Joe. I'm right. I'm losing my voice. That's great.
Hey, you got one yesterday.
Mm. Hey, Dalty.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, guy?
Much, man. It's on my island over here. Give me an Edgar.
I feel it. Oh, brother.
What's up, gang?
Bonum. Aha. Is that Mula Mace?
Hakuna Matata, my guy. Wow, I might get Hakuna Matata tatted on me.
There you go. You should. You should get a Hakuna Matata. So let's get the law. Are we on 20 or 24
Yeah.
and 20? So check this out, man. Next week is 21, and we would have done all 21 laws. And check it out. Next week is also the last week before halftime for the year. So we knocked out the first 21 laws in the first half of the year. So that's perfect. That was my goal. I wanted to get 21 laws done by the first half, and then the second half, do the other 21 laws. And there's 26 weeks in the first half, 26 weeks in the second half. So we should be okay getting all 21 laws in, even if we miss a few weeks here and there, like because of, I don't know, a holiday or something. So every year, guys, we're going to be able to go through this twice. So all your future leaders that you're going to be bringing in, just remember the rule of thumb. You want to get in, and let's say you get somebody in here and they start on law number 1. Well, they're good. They just got to be on for the next 21 weeks, and they did the whole rotation. And if somebody starts on law number 7, well, then they got to sit through, all the way till 21, and then kind of all the way back through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before they hit all the way 7. So once they hit that rotation, technically they completed the cycle. They did it. They completed the 21 laws of leadership. And then they can kind of graduate and they don't have to be in the laws anymore. So today though, we got 20, next week 21, and we'll be all through all 21. Now, if you started on 10 though, that don't stop coming to these after you hit 21. Okay, make sure you come back all the way till you hit the law that you started on. So anyways, let's play law number 20, and let's keep it moving today, guys.
Law number 20
Yeah.
is the law of explosive growth. And the law of explosive
favorite.
growth says leaders who develop leaders multiply. In other words, to add growth, you've got to have followers. But to multiply growth, you've got to have leaders. And this is a law that talks about how to have explosive growth. And basically the law says you've got to get on the leadership side. And there's a difference between what I call followers math and leaders math. Followers math is addition. Leaders math is multiplication. And what you've got to do is you've got to understand in this law that if you want to multiply, you've got to get on the leadership side. So what I've done is I made a study of this question because I've asked myself this question often. I've asked myself this question often. Why is it that some leaders develop leaders and some leaders develop followers? And I have come to the conclusion that there are some distinct differences between leaders who develop followers and leaders who develop leaders. And I want to give you today those distinct differences because you're going to see them for yourself as I begin to relay them to you. For example, number one, desire. There's a difference in the desire of leaders who develop followers versus leaders who develop leaders. So let me explain that. Leaders who develop followers need to be needed. In other words, they want people to need them. They love the fact that followers say, oh my goodness, I need you. I couldn't make it without you. They love that. So leaders who develop followers, they need to be needed, where leaders who develop leaders want to be succeeded. And there's a world difference between those two. You see, leaders who develop leaders, they say, my goodness, I hope somebody will succeed me. I hope somebody will rise above me. I hope somebody will do better than I do. Boy, I hope I pour my life into somebody that someday they're way up here and I can look and say, look, I helped develop them. Leaders who develop leaders want to be succeeded. Leaders who only develop followers, they just want to be needed. They want those followers to tell them how important they are, and I couldn't make it without you, and you've made my life. They want to hear that. It's very ego satisfying. You see, leaders who develop followers to get their ego satisfaction from people that need them. Leaders who develop leaders get their ego satisfaction out of watching the people they've developed literally pass them up. By the way, that's why more leaders develop followers than leaders who develop leaders. It's the difference in the desire. Ask yourself the question, what's my desire? Do I desire to have people just stroke me and tell me how good I am, or do I have a desire to reproduce myself and develop leaders around me, some of them which will undoubtedly be quicker, better, faster, and smarter than me? My goal is to have people that I develop pass me up. What's your desire? Because what your desire is will determine whether you develop leaders or develop followers. Number two, focus. The focus is different. Let me explain. Leaders who develop followers focus on the weaknesses of people. And leaders who develop leaders, they focus on the strengths of people. Major difference. You see, if you and I focus on the weaknesses of people, we'll work with people in a sense of counseling. If we work on the strengths of people, we'll work with people in the area of equipping. And let me just say something about working on weaknesses versus working on strengths, because this is a fact. I've said in a previous law, people don't pay for average. When I work on my weaknesses, or when you work on your weaknesses, let's say from a 1 to 10, I'm a 2 in something, which is very weak. And I say, oh my goodness, I'm going to really work on this. Can I tell you something? I can go from a 2 to maybe a 3. Perhaps if I really work hard, spend a lot of time and energy, maybe I could get to a 4. Can I tell you something? If I work hard and I go from a 2 to a 4, the good news is I've made progress. The bad news is nobody will pay for it because people don't pay for average. You don't pay for average. I don't pay for average. Think about it. When's the last time you went into your house and you looked at your wife and said, hey, babe, let's go out to an average restaurant? Man, it's just let's go to an average restaurant. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go to an average restaurant? And so you go to an average restaurant, you pull up to the average restaurant, and you go in and sit at an average table. And you look and say, boy, I really hope an average waiter takes care of us. Man, we don't want a good waiter. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if we got a waiter that, forgot to look at us once in a while and didn't come around and refill the drink? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we just had a waiter that, messed up the order? Not both orders, but one of the orders, just average. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to mess up both orders. Wouldn't it be, average meal at an average restaurant with an average waiter? I mean, it can't get any more average than that. And once you're done with that, you say, oh, wasn't that fun? Hey, we got some time. Got an idea? Hey, let's go to an average movie. Let's go to an average movie. Let's see. Now, honey, is there any movie that none of our friends have been talking about? You know what I mean? Because you know what? You go to an average movie, you always have plenty of seats. Oh, I love that. I love that. And after we've gone to an average movie, we can go home, we can look at each other and say, hadn't it been wonderful? We spent together an average evening together in an average restaurant with an average waiter with average food and an average movie. Oh, what a wonderful average day. I love life. Boy, I hope tomorrow I can just do some more average things. People don't pay for average. The question I have is, why do so many people like it? Why do you like it? Why do you want to be average? Don't work on your weaknesses, because if you work on your weaknesses, I promise you, you'll just be average. Let's say from a 1 to a 10, let's say you're a 6 at something, and you work at a 6, and you go up to 7 to an 8. Now all of a sudden, you're up there at 8. Now, can I tell you something? When you get to be an 8 or a 9, people pay to hear you. People pay to see you. People pay to listen to you. People pay to talk to you. People pay to find out what you're thinking. You see, you got to play to your strengths. Don't play to your weaknesses. I know. Our whole culture has said, work on your weaknesses. Our whole culture is wrong. Don't work on your weaknesses. They taught us that if you got an A in math and a C in English, you worked on English. You're always going to be bad in English. Trust me, I know. I love to sing. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm not any good at it. So I'm a 2 on singing. But I want to sing, so what do? I get a music teacher, and I take vocal lessons, and I take sight reading, and I spend 3 or 4 years. Can I tell you something? When I'm done 3 or 4 years from now, I don't know. So I was a 2, maybe now I'm a 3. Here's what I know. None of you in this room, none of you, not even my mother, is going to say, hey, I'd love to pay to hear John sing. No. You'll pay to shut me up, not to hear me sing. You see, leaders who develop leaders, they're equippers. They look for the strengths in their people and they work on them. Leaders who develop followers, they work on weaknesses and never get a return on the weaknesses of their people and wonder why their company is not successful. Number 3, priorities. You see, the priorities of leaders who develop followers and leaders who develop leaders are different. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Leaders who develop followers devote attention to the bottom 20%. We've already studied the Pareto principle. And leaders who develop leaders, they devote attention to the top 20%. A world of difference. Number 4 is abilities. Leaders who develop followers are good leaders. But leaders who develop leaders are great leaders. Goes back to the law of respect, remember? It goes back to the law of magnetism. Sure it does. They're cousins, remember? If you're a 4 as a leader, you're only going to attract 3s. The quality of person that you're going to have in your organization isn't going to be any high. So leaders who develop followers are good leaders because perhaps that's all they can attract. But leaders who develop leaders, they're great leaders. They're going after their 7s, 8s, and 9s. Number 5, attitude. There's a difference in attitude. See, leaders who develop followers lift up themselves. They love to hear their people lift them up. But leaders who develop leaders lift others. They lift up others. Number 6 is in the area of time. Leaders who develop followers spend time with people. Leaders who develop leaders invest time with people. World of difference between those two. Number 7 is expectations. Leaders who develop followers ask for little commitment. Leaders who develop leaders ask for much commitment. That's a fact. Number 8, there's even a difference in leadership. Leaders who develop followers lead everyone the same, but leaders who develop leaders lead everybody differently because they realize that not all people are motivated by the same thing and have the same values, so they understand that you lead people according to who they are, not according to one similar plan for everybody. And finally, the 9th difference between leaders who develop followers and leaders who develop leaders is this one: impact. Leaders who develop followers impact this generation. And leaders who develop leaders, they impact the next generation.
Leaders who develop leaders who enforce abilities. Ask for more commitment.
Here we go. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. It is a sunny, sunny day out today. I was actually trying to sit out there and watch this video. I had to come into my office because it's just too bright out there. So, but hey, don't be afraid to go out and do some meetings. I was back and forth all day yesterday. I was in here, then I went out there, and then I had the meeting. Yesterday was Tuesday, so I had to run the 11 o'clock leadership call with people that are in the pipeline. So as a reminder, guys, if you have anybody that's in your pipeline and they want to get into leadership, you can get them in 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, and I go over the leadership track with them. And at the end, I tell them, the next step for you to do is to get your starting 10 down. So last week and the week before, we started this. And last week was better than the first week. Last week we had like 8 people in there. And out of 8 people, like 6 of them came back with a list of at least 10 people and gave it to their manager. I think we have a guy, Paul, who's in training class right now. Paul already got 3 hires, right? So that's huge. All personals too. So what I tell them at the end of that is I say, so now your homework assignment is to get your starting 10 together. So what I need you to do next is to get a list of your 10 people that you think would be best to start this business with. And it's just your starting 10. It's not your ending 10. We're just beginning. This is the start to get 10 people, send me an email or send it to your manager with a list of those 10 names. We're going to give them a call and start getting them in and getting them hired. Right. So anyways, that's what I run every Tuesday. So I ran that inside and then it actually got cooler off yesterday. So I actually ran training class for everybody outside. And I rocked training class for everybody, like rocked it, killed it. I gave them all the fire on how to proactively handle rebuttals, the philosophy behind it, the mindset behind it, Steve Greer's method to proactively handle rebuttals and reactively handle rebuttals.
Do you guys remember Steve Greer's method to handling rebuttals, guys? If I had to ask you, can you break it down? Who can break it down for us? Who can break Steve Greer's method for proactively? I know I taught him to you. I know I taught this to you. I already know it. Who knows? Anybody? He's just the CEO of the company. That's all.
I remember one of them.
Yes. All right, let's hear it.
I remember for whenever they want to think about it, he'd said in one of the videos you told me to watch that it's a 3-step process. The first step was, filling out or getting the letter from the union. You read it, we were going to be calling you, so you got to think about it. Then you got to think about it after you filled out your beneficiary card. You filled it out, you sent it in, you got to think about it. Then once we contacted you, now you've had all this time to think about it. So really the only thing you need to think about is what option best fits your family's needs the best. Right?
So that is, I'll give you an E for effort. That wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. I actually never really heard that one before, but okay. So Steve Greer, he says there's a method to handling rebuttals, and I want to teach this to you guys so you can use it because it's easy. But also, I want you to have this in your repertoire so you can teach this to your people, because they're going to come across the bridge. They're going to come across a situation where they're going to get a rebuttal, and they're going to go into a Chinese fire drill in their head. Their brain's going to go 100 miles a minute in every different direction at the same time, and they're not going to know what to say, and it's going to come out a bunch of word vomit, right? And they're going to come out combative or argumentative. Remember, guys, we're in the business of sales, okay? You catch a lot more bees with honey than you do vinegar, right? So we got to be attractive. We got to be people. What you got, not like our model on. We got to be attractive with our attitude, with our smile, with our words. We got to say attractive words. Like the word no is not an attractive word. Nobody likes to hear no. So like when a client tells you that they want to think about it or they can't afford it, and then they start explaining to you why. Okay, you can't cut them off and argue with them and prove that you're right. We already know you're right. Everybody knows you're right. You're right. You don't need to prove to them. You need to, when they give you a rebuttal, just sit there and listen to them. Just let them say it all. And here's the problem. Sometimes what we'll do is they'll say the rebuttal and they won't say it all, right? So then we try and come back and rebuttal that. And then they just pick up where they left off and keep going. So when they tell you rebuttal, they'd be like, you agree, nod your head, smile, put your head to the side. I understand where you're at. Makes sense. You know what? I can agree with you. Definitely. Yeah. And what else? What are some other reasons why you can't afford it? Let them say it all. Like you want them to empty their tank. Honestly, you do. Because if the client just says everything that they want to get out, then when you come back and you say what you need, they don't have anything left in the tank to even say because they felt they said it all. But when they say like, I can't afford it, and then you just immediately rebuttal that, they're going to tell you, well, why they can't afford it and the story behind it and this one. And they're going to go through all the other 5 reasons, and you're going to be back and forth 5 different times. And either you're going to come out of rebuttals or they're going to run out of rebuttals. So just let them run out of all their rebuttals at the beginning. That's something we're not doing, guys, because we're not listening. Remember, if you listen to why they tell you they can't buy, they're going to tell you how you can sell them. Like if you listen to a client enough, they will tell you exactly how to sell them. We just have to care enough to listen to what they got to say and not be like I don't care what you say. It's all about what I say. I'm just listen to me. I'm the insured person. You just get like, we can't be like that. We have to be like a consultative type of sell. You ever hear of consultative selling, sort of, to where they feel like they came to you with a problem, you consulted on that problem and gave them a solution to it. So all this to be said is the Steve Greer's method to handling rebuttals. Okay. And after today, I would hope for you guys to spread the word like wildfire through the agency, because I feel bad that you guys don't know this stuff. I promise you this, guys. I promise you, I know I went over this with you guys at some point in your career, because you've been in training class, right? And I go over this on the second week, Tuesday, every single week. Every single week, I've gone over this. So it's in your notes from training class. If you still got your notes from training class. Make sure you guys have a hardback notebook. You're going to lose your notes if it's not a hardback notebook. I still have the very first notebook from July of 2008 when I started with this company. I could show you every single meeting that we ever ran. So anyways, Steve Greer met with me 7 years ago in New Jersey when I went to a leadership development thing that, I don't got time for this. I got a kid. I'm running an RGA deal. I got 13 offices I'm running. I'm not even married yet. I have my brand new baby. And I drive my car all the way to New Jersey so that I can get more knowledge on leadership when I was already number one RGA in the company. And Steve Greer was there, and he was an SGA at the time. And he went up and he had like 15 minutes to speak to us. And he said, I'm going to teach you guys, and we're the best closers in the business, right? This is the highest level of leadership you can have. And he's like, I'm going to teach you guys how I teach my people how to handle rebuttals. I'm like, let's hear it. And I took notes on it. And that's the only time he had to tell me. Once. That's how I am. Like if Pat Sullivan ran a workshop right now, you wouldn't have to tell me twice, bro. Promise you. Promise you. I'd be able to spit that back to you 6 years from now. Hey, remember that time we let Pat Sullivan run the Fbla and he ran that presentation on how to be a great coach and how a soccer coach can relate to being a great coach in business, and blah, 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 blah. I'd be able to spit it because I take notes and I remember stuff, that's my life. This is important. I know more about this. Like my neighbor was so proud that her son knows all the history of all the sports teams. He could tell you any stat on any play or anywhere. You know what I mean? That's good. But I'd rather know the statistics of this industry, of this business, of this company, who our all-stars are, who's the Hall of Famers in this company. So anyways, he ran at one time and I'll never forget what he said, which was crazy. And one of the reasons why I'll never forget it though, is because I actually wrote it down. I know writing stuff down makes a big deal. So I take pride in it. I went and bought a special notebook, just to take my notes in. I make sure I got my G7 pen when I'm taking my notes. Like, that's just how I like to roll. So anyways, the Steve Greer says this, okay? Step number 1 is to proactively beat the rebuttals in your presentation first, or nothing else works. So we have to have in our presentation parts that are built into it already that proactively beat the rebuttals that we know we're going to get before we ever get them. Right? So what are the 3 rebuttals that we get mostly? There might be some other ones off the wall, but even the ones that are off the wall, most of them they may sound like something else, but it's really one of these 3. So you're going to get, I can't afford it. I want to think about it and I don't need it. I can't, I don't, I want. Or I can, I need, I want. I can't afford it. I want to think about it, and I don't need it. I can't. I don't. What's that? I can't. I want. I don't. But anyways, so when the first one out of those three will be I don't need it. Right. So where do we beat I don't need it? We beat it at the beginning when we just explained to the client. Because why do people say they don't need it? Why would somebody say they don't need it? Because they feel they already got it. They feel they already got it. Well, why would somebody think they already have it? Because of work. Work brainwashed them and told them that they have this coverage through work, and they think that they're good. Well, let's talk about statistically what's wrong with work coverage. First of all, statistically, work coverage is $10,000 or $20,000 of coverage. Maybe 50,000, maybe 1 times your salary. So number one, it's never enough coverage. 10,000 is nothing. On top of that, usually they have to pay for it. If they pay for it, chances are they're paying for it with pre-tax dollars. If they don't pay for it, who pays for it? The company pays for it. And if the company pays for it, they're paying for it with what? Pre-tax dollars. Well, as we know, since we all passed our life insurance test, that if you pay for your premiums with pre-tax dollars, then the benefit is paid taxable as income. If premiums are paid with pre-tax dollars, benefits are paid taxable. So not only are they only going to get 10, 20, or 50,000, or maybe 1 times their salary, on top of that, it's going to be taxable to their beneficiaries, whoever gets the money. So, that, and then the third statistic is that 1% of the time, group term coverage actually pays out. So you just go like this. I'm not too much of a betting man. I don't like to bet, and I bet with money. I said, what are the 2 rules of money? The number 1 rule of money is never play with money. Anybody remember what Grant Cardone's grandfather told him? Grant Cardone's grandfather gave him a quarter to go to the store, and he dropped the quarter, and it fell in the sewer, and he lost it. Right? Or maybe it was his quarter. It was his quarter. So he went to his grandpap and was upset about it. And his grandpap told him, he said, Grant, number 1 rule of money, never play with money. Never play with money, son. Second thing he told him, you got to have more than a quarter. You need more money. Get more money. He said, I'll never forget that. So, anyways, I don't even know why I went on that tangent there. I have no clue why I went on that tangent. But anyways, the need portion at the beginning, right? When we explain to a client that the reason why we're here is because your president, John Smith, contracted through us to make sure you guys have permanent guaranteed life benefits currently right now. If you have coverage through work, most companies provide benefits to their employees, right? Yeah. Well, what typically happens to those benefits if you ever leave that company? Quit, get fired, retire. That's right. Yeah, they go away. So that was the big problem, major concern. That's why they contracted through our company, to make sure that you and all the members have guaranteed permanent benefits that'll be there from now until forever when you need them most. And then you say, so that part right there is how you proactively handle the I don't need it. Because they're going to tell you at the end, I don't need it. And then you're going to find out, well, why don't you need it? And I'm like, blah, blah, I got this stuff through work. And you're going to be like, okay. Well, actually, that's the reason why we're here today. That's the problem. So the stuff that you have through work, that's why your president contracted through us. is because you have stuff through work, and that's the problem. Here, let me go back and explain to you, and boom, you go. So anyways, guys, there's 3 places you're going to handle it. That's number 1 to handle. I don't need it, right? Okay. Everybody knows how to proactively handle. I want to think about it, right? You hit them with the paragraph after the mandatory read off letter. You pull that up on the screen and you say, follow along as I read this to you, right? If I was in person, I would actually have the letter in front of me and I would have my pen, and I would remember, your pen's like a magic wand. So they should follow the pen, like wherever it goes, they follow that pen around. So I take the pen, boom, put it right here, say, dear value member, please follow along as your representative, goes over the benefit, or, whatever, dear value member, whatever the freaking mandatory read off letter says. I'd read it to them, verbatim. And then after that, I take the mandatory read off letter and set it aside. If it's on the screen, I pull it down, obviously, so they can see me, right? This is the part where we have to look them in their eyes. If if you're ever going to look someone in their eyes, this is like definitely one of the parts where you got to do it. Okay. Now on Zoom, this is something new, guys. I want you to pay attention to this. Okay. On Zoom right now, I am looking at myself. These big glasses on my face. I look like I could probably see outer space with these on. But now I'm going to change and I'm going to look at the camera. So I can't see me right now, but does it look different that I'm looking like at a camera? Am I like looking at you now versus looking there? Right? A little bit of a difference, right? So the thing is, when you're on camera, you can't look at the people. Like if I look at Pat Sullivan right now, you could see I'm like looking over there. I'm not looking at the camera, which is over here, I can tell, right? So I'm looking at Pat, but Pat, it don't look like I'm looking at it. For him, it looks like I'm looking over there. So now it looks like I'm actually looking at Pat, but now I don't see anybody. I just see a little black, whatever your camera looks like. I see this little circle. I'm just looking at a black circle. So you have to talk to a black circle, to look somebody in their eyes, which throws me off, but it keeps them on. This throws them off. This keeps them. So I'd rather be, and you got to get used to it. Okay. Also, just know that there's this thing called like mirror syndrome. Some people get it worse than others. It's just like anxiety. Some people are numb to it. They don't have no anxiety. They're straight. And some people are like super anxiety, and certain things bother them and certain things don't bother other people. Some people get anxiety just about certain things. Some people don't get anxiety about nothing except 2 things. Some people get anxiety about tons of stuff except certain things that somebody might get anxiety about 100 things and there's 2 things that they don't get no anxiety about. I might get anxiety about only 2 things in the world, and those are the 2 things that person don't get anxiety about. So everybody gets anxiety about different stuff, right? Well, some people being on Zoom all the time, they have a mirror syndrome because you're looking at yourself all the time. Because instead of me looking at you, just like when you take a picture, if I took a picture and I showed a picture of us at the ball game, what's the first person you're going to look at? Everybody goes and looks right at themselves, right? So even when we're on a screen here, you're going to tend to just like always be kind of sucked into looking at yourself. So you're staring at yourself all day long, guys, right? It's supposedly can wear on people, So try to minimize yourself, try and get yourself out of the screen, especially when you're running the Zooms from 8 till 8. I noticed myself, I'd be drained. I went and bought those glasses. I start switching things up. I start doing meetings in different parts of my house. I start riding. I'd go hop on a bike ride for 15 minutes, 20 minutes in between appointments, So try and switch things up in between the day a little bit to keep it less, especially when we're going hard and you have a bunch of appointments. But anyways, so after you read the mandatory read off letter, guys, okay, after you do that, then you pull it down from the screen. So now they have to look at you. Now you look them right in the camera and you say, so Joe and Mary, basically, as I go through these benefits and you're nodding your head and you're seeing why they're great benefits. And obviously you can see why they fit a need for your family and why everybody's enrolling. They're going to ask you to enroll into the program to try to qualify and enroll into the program today. But on the flip side, as I go through the program and you're nodding your head, you're thinking, that these are great benefits, and you can obviously see why they've been set up for everybody and why everyone's taking advantage. But they just don't fit a need for you and your family at the time. Then they're going to actually ask you to not qualify for the benefits and not try to enroll into the program. Okay. But what they're asking is either way, as I go through the benefits, that you make a decision, yes or no, just in fairness to all the other members that are waiting to enroll into the program. But it's the good news, Joe and Mary, is after I go through all the benefits with you, it's pretty much a no-brainer. So you're going to know one way or not whether it fits a need for you and your family. Basically, they just didn't want me to go through all the benefits and us take this time here together and then get all the way to the end. And then you guys say something silly like, you wanted to think about it or something like that. So they just wanted to make sure we just made a decision, yes or no. That's all. Is that fair enough? Make sense to you guys? Okay, great. And what I would like to ask for you guys is just to give feedback on how I did today for you. When I wrap up here, we like to give feedback to your president and to everybody on how we did today. Would you mind just giving quick feedback if I asked you to fill out a quick survey or just put a couple comments on how I did for you guys today? Would that be okay as well, Joe and Mary? You're okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That does go a long way with our company as well. So that's my transition from telling them, listen, I don't want to hear no shit at the end about, I want to think about it, to, oh, by the way, can I get a review? So that's how I kind of switch it. And then you could also make a joke about it. When I was in the home, I would always say, and also whenever I wrap up here today, I'm going to ask you to fill out an officer report form. Basically, that gives feedback to your union president, just letting him know how I did today, just to make sure I didn't come over here and drink all your coffee and run around your house on a caffeine rage and knock your coffee table over or something. Okay. I was just like, make a joke about it, just to kind of hurry up and switch it up, because I do get pretty serious. I look them in their eyeballs because I've been there before. After you get told you want to think about it enough, guys, you start to put your foot down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You're like, all right, I'm fucking done with this. I want to think about it. Shit. Like, I'm going to sit and say, listen, I don't care what you like, you're going to get to the point. Like, I don't care what you tell me at the end of this thing, but just promise me you're not going to tell me I want to think about it. You could tell me to go fly a kite. Just please don't say, I want to think about it. Like those 6 words, please don't. Like, me, I almost got to that point with clients. Like, I was being so nice to everybody. And I was like, oh, they said, make a friend, make a sale. So I literally took it to the next level. So I'm starting to make friends with these people. And I crossed the line and I went into the friend zone. And I learned the hard way that when you go to the friend zone, you never get to the end zone. So I had to tone back my thing to keep it professional. I had to keep it professional, but friendly, like a doctor. Like, you wouldn't want to go, your doctor's professional, but he's not very friendly or personable. I don't know. Your doctor can be friendly and personable, but he's still a professional. You're going to listen to what the guy got to tell you. So that's kind of how you want to be with the client in the home. You're going to be professional, but you're friendly, but you're professional, and they're going to listen to what you got to say still. So anyways, that's why I want to think about it a lot. So I comboed, making my rapport more professional, but then I also comboed adding a bunch of just protocol in there to really make sure I never got, I want to think about it. I literally got to the end where the husband goes like, you got it. The husband's like, we're going to need to think about this. And the wife like literally will like nudge him, like, honey, didn't you hear what the man said? We have to make a decision today. And I'm sitting there like, yes. So that means you did a good, and you proactively handled it. And then the third part is when we handle the cost, right? Because they're going to say what? I can't afford it. They're going to say, I can't afford it, right? So there's 2 ways to handle this. I always handle it. So I'll say, they always make me ask. That's the transition, guys. So, I always joke with people and I say to them, why do I always ask the $5 question? because they always make me ask. But that's the script, guys. So after you hit them with the paragraph after the mandatory read-off letter, and then you hit them with the, hey, by the way, when I wrap up here, I'm going to ask you to give me a quick review. Is that okay? Right? After you hit them with that, you say, all right, now Joe and Mary, they always make me ask. Okay. If you were to set aside $5 out of every $100 that we brought home, and we set that aside to protect our family, would that take food off our table or drastically change our lifestyle? No. Most families say it wouldn't really take much cheese out of their macaroni. So, so if, so then I say, so they always make me ask, if you were to set aside $5 out of every $100 and you set that aside to protect your family, would that take food off your table or drastically change your lifestyle? No? Okay. Well, most members say that it wouldn't. And they never want us to show you something that you need, but you just can't afford. And then you go like this. So the first concern that they wanted to address was the funeral and final arrangements, for you, and boom, boom, boom. And then you just go into your clothes. Or if you don't want to do the $5 question, which is so easy. I mean, that's easy to say, easy to teach. They agree. Now, everybody goes, well, what if you ask them and they say that, $5 every 100, would that, change your lifestyle or take any food off the table? And they're like, well, actually it might, we're pretty tight right now. Then you'll say, well, actually you want to know what? The good thing is they actually got programs for even $1 or $2. So we could take a look and see what it comes up for you. And I just slide right into it. So, so the other option you can say though, is if you're sitting with a union person and maybe you just feel this a little bit more, this is more up your alley, but you could have them both in your repertoire. Okay. Sometimes you can hit them with two. So you hit them with the one, then they give you a rebuttal at the end, and then you hit them with the other one as a rebuttal. So you can use this obviously as a rebuttal too. So you say to them, Joe, Mary, they always make me ask. Okay. Imagine we went into work on Monday and the boss pulled everyone aside and was able to give everybody an extra hour this week. So instead of 40, we all took home 41 hours. That might feel pretty good, right? Well, I said it might feel pretty good, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to run home to the family and book a dream vacation to Disneyland and then come back and go shopping for a brand new Cadillac, all because I got 1 extra hour in my pay, right? Now, on the flip side, let's say we go to work and the boss pulls everyone aside and he says, instead of 40 hours, we're going to have to cut everybody back by an hour this week. So instead of getting 40, now we're taking home 39 hours, 1 hour less. Okay, that might make a little bit of a difference, but we're probably not going to have to run home to the family and cancel all of our vacation plans and put the cars up for sale because we lost an hour either. So whether we got an extra hour in our pay or maybe lost that 1 hour for the week, either way doesn't make that big of a difference. So they said, let's take that hour that doesn't make that big of a difference and let's put it towards something that would. So for you, Joe and Mary, the first concern that they looked at and they wanted to take care of was your funeral and final arrangements. Boom, 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 boom. And for me, guys, the way I do it, okay, is I do I do the difference between whole life and term. Okay. Then I explain to them their fourth no cost benefit. And then I which is the needs analysis. I put the information into the needs analysis. I read them the mandatory read off letter. I do the paragraph after, and then I hit them with either the $5 question or the hour power. And then from there, I transition right into the needs analysis. So I press next, and the needs analysis pops up, and it says the first concern was funeral and final arrangements. So I just played a video. And then after the video, I just show them what they need. Okay, so the expert simulator is recommending for you, Joe, to have $30,000 in whole life protection to guarantee that your funeral and final expenses will never be a burden to your family ever again. Currently, right now, Joe, the expert simulator has identified that you have actually $0 in coverage for that. So it's showing a need right now of $30,000. And actually, for a recommendation, it's recommending to cover that need of $30,000 for you and your family. Now, Joe and Mary, first, does that make sense why it's recommending that to you, Joe? Excuse me? Yeah. Okay, great. Mary, does it make sense to you too? I'm sorry, I might have froze. What I can't hear. Yeah. Okay, good. You can do that, right? Tell them it's frozen. Get them to repeat themselves. Double close them a couple times. So now, now I'll say, now keep in mind this 30,000, Joe, it's going to be on your freedom of choice certificate. Let me show you how this is going to work for you and your family. And you show them you break down the freedom of choice, right? The freedom of, so this is your freedom of choice. Joe, this is going to guarantee to take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements so that your family doesn't have to. And this is going to be a guaranteed benefit that'll be in place forever. So once you qualify for this today, this will be in place forever. No one can take this away from you. So wherever, whenever, however you pass away, this is guaranteed to be in place. This gives your family the freedom of choice to use this anywhere that they'd like. Mary, I'd imagine you'd be the one to handle this. And then she'd be like, yeah. And you say, so Mary, you have the freedom of choice to take this to any funeral home in America, hand this over to the funeral director, and everything will be taken care of right there on the spot. One of the worst days of your life, one of the worst times of your life, it's meant to make that time just a little bit easier. And then you go in and sell it, man. There's so much stuff you can say about the freedom of choice. And then from there, I go into the next video, which would be the income protection. And I say, so after that, I'll say, so Joe, Mary, the expert simulator is recommending to have 5 years of Joe's income protected. What that means is if Joe were to pass away, it's recommending that his income continue to come into the household for the following 5 years, right? And 5 years of his income comes out to be $250,000. You know, so it's all right there on the screen. But currently, right now, it shows that you have $0 in coverage for this. So it's showing there's a need for your family of 5 years to still be covered. And what they're recommending on this is they're going to recommend for you to have all those 5 years covered, the whole $250,000. Does that make sense to you, Joe? Mary, does it make sense why they'd want to make sure his income is still coming into the household for you and the family? Okay, great. Notice how I don't talk about 250. I talk about 5 years the whole time. When you're selling income protection, you got to sell the concepts. We're selling concepts. Okay. So remind yourself and your team when you're teaching your agents are out there, and sometimes they're probably get caught up in selling the $250,000 death benefit. You know, now we're just now we're just any old life insurance company out there. You know, so we want to sell a benefit to them of income protection and the concept and the mindset that this is what this is used for. So I'm not talking much about 250. I talk about the 5 years and what that's going to do for them. So now you go through it all, right? And at the end, you're going to summarize everything. So you say, Joe, let me just summarize real quick. It's recommended to have your funeral and final expense protected. It'll never be burdened to your family ever again. You'll never have to worry about that. You have freedom of choice certificate. Mary, God forbid if something happens before he retires, his income won't go away. You'll continue to have the income protected, which will allow you to live lifestyle and keep everybody in the blah, blah, blah. And your mortgage will be paid off. Okay. You know, so what do I say now? I say, okay, so you remember when I asked you about that $5 out of every 100, Joe and Mary? Remember when I asked you about that $5 out of every 100? Okay, well, what they did, they felt that they could take 5% of our income to protect the other 95% of our income. Because if we don't, then there's two things that are going to happen. 100% of the time. And you know those two guarantees in life, right, Joe? Death and taxes. Now, I met some people who got around paying taxes before. You might, but I'd never met anyone who got around dying. Now, for you, that 5% of your income actually comes out to be $275 a month. But the nice thing is, they were able to get you into the program for actually only $47 a week, which is $192 a month, right? So everybody always wants to try and qualify for the program, but unfortunately, not everyone can. So I need to make sure you guys can even qualify first, okay? And then I take it away from them and I qualify. They told me they can afford they said $5 out of your hundreds, no big deal. At the end, I show them, like, remember how you said 5 out of 100 is no big deal? Well, guess what? I got you in at 3.5 out of 100. So I know you can afford this. Oh, by the way, I kept saying, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Are we on the same page? Can you see why this would be important for you, Mary? I'm sorry. I think it broke up. I'm getting them tie down after tie down after tie down after tie down. I don't need to sit there and ask them anymore, does this make sense to them? They know what we're talking about. They know they're buying life insurance. They know what's going on. They don't think that they're getting a timeshare. You know what I'm saying? They know what they're getting. There was a guy in my office when I was starting, he had the worst retention ever, right? He would go in there, get everybody all excited, and they wouldn't even know what the hell they're buying. We literally would be like, when TJ makes sales, his clients go to the mailbox next week looking for Pumas. You know, they didn't even know what they were getting. When they sell, I make sure they know what I'm talking about, because we did so many tie downs. It's not a question of what we're doing here. You know, so that's why it's cool for me to assume the sell and it works out. Do you guys see how I did that? I said, remember when I asked about that $5 out of 100? Well, what they felt is they could take 5% of our income to protect the other 95%, because if we don't do that, then two things are going to happen 100% of the time. And you know those two guarantees in life, right? There's there's debt and taxes, right? Now, I know some people who got around paying taxes before, but I never met anybody who got around dying. Now, for you, that 5% came out to be $130 a month, but good news, they're actually able to get all the benefits for you for $100 a month. So $25 a week. Now, the thing is, Joe and Mary, is that everybody always wants to try and qualify for the benefits, but unfortunately, not everybody can qualify. So I need to make sure you can qualify first. And then I just start asking them the questions. Okay. So now they go, well, Tommy, I can't afford it. And I said, so what's Steve Greer say to do on this? Okay. Steve Greer says, number one, proactively beat the rebuttals in your presentation. So we beat, I don't need it at the beginning. We beat, I can't afford it. And we beat that I want to think about it, right? We looked them in their eye, gave them the script, got them tie downs in. Okay. So number one says that. Number two, when they give you the rebuttal, what do? Number two says, relax. Relax. Agree. You know the best way to agree with somebody?
Shut up.
Say this. Ready? I agree. Try it. It works. I agree. Yeah, I understand. Makes sense. 100. Yep, I can agree with that. That makes sense. I understand where you're coming from. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That makes sense. Definitely. I could see where you're coming from, right, with that one. That's just sit there and do that. Right. And that's step two. Step two. Everybody can do that. We can practice it right now. Everybody say, I agree. There we did. You did it. You step two. So there you go. Step two says agree, no matter what they say. Okay. All right. Here's what you don't do. Don't go like this. No, Mary. No, that's wrong. No. Let me tell you why you're wrong. No. Don't say no. Okay. That's what you don't do. All right. So then step three says this. Ready? Go back to where you already addressed this rebuttal in the presentation. So you agree with them, and then you proceed to where you already handled it. You say, okay, yeah, I understand for sure. That makes sense. If you could remember how earlier I went over that they actually had that mandatory read-off letter set up. Well, the reason that they set all that up is see, what they didn't want to do is by the end is that they wanted to make sure that, you know, if you agreed and the program made sense and it fit a need for your family, they were asking that you try to apply, try to qualify today, you know, while we're out here during your enrollment period, during your service period. But if it didn't make sense, they're asking you to not try and qualify. Either way, they're just asking. Do you guys see what I'm doing right now? I'm repeating what I already said to them. It's like if this was a recording, right? I want you to rewind the tape because they must have not heard that part. That's the best way I could kind of describe it to you. So go back to the presentation where you already talked about this with them and politely remind them by repeating what you just said. Simple, right? And then the third thing, or the fourth thing, is proceed to assume the sale by saying, so you hit them with whatever it is, and you say, now Joe and Mary, the most important thing is to make sure you get your foot in the door, or we say we get your foot in the door, or you get your foot in the door, however you want to position it, but keep it comfortable at the same time. Steve Greer's verbatim was this. He said this. He said, now Joe and Mary, the most important thing is making sure that we get you into the program at some level, but make sure that we keep it comfortable at the same time. The most important thing is making sure that we get your foot in the door with the benefits, but keeping it comfortable at the same time. And then you can go right back into your closing. So that's the 4 steps. Number 1, proactively handle it. Number 2, agree. Number 3, go back to where you already handled it and repeat it. And then number 4, assume the sale and use those famous lines. The most important thing is making sure that we get your foot in the door with the benefits, but keeping it comfortable at the same time. I'll give you guys a couple closes and then we could end for today. All right. So right after you say we need to get your foot in the door, but keep it comfortable at the same time. You say, so Joe and Mary, if I had to ask you, I mean, what's the most important thing in the world to you? You know, if you had to say number 1, what do you say the most important thing in the world to you guys would be? What do you think, Mary? Family? Yeah, everybody always says family, right? But if I had to ask you this, what would you say your family's worth to you? If you had to put a price tag on your family, what would you say they're worth to you? Priceless? Yeah, everyone, you can't put a price tag on family. Fortunately, they were able to put a price on protecting our family, which is just $130 a month. I mean, less than a cable cell phone bill these days, right? But if I had to ask you, when do you think the most important time to start protecting our family is? When should we start protecting our family? Today? Yeah, right? Actually, probably yesterday, right? So Joe and Mary, most families don't plan to fail. The problem is they fail to plan, right? And that's why they set this plan up for you and your family. This is the family plan for the family man, right? And the most important thing is qualifying, because not everybody can qualify. And the thing is, once you lock in with these benefits, they're going to be in place for you and your family forever. So no one will ever take them away from you, and they'll be under your independent control. They're member owned, member controlled. So later on down the line, if you need to make any adjustments to the benefits, we can make any adjustments at that point. We can add family members, we can increase your benefits, but we need to make sure the most important thing is making sure you get your foot in the door with them today, while you're young and while you're healthy. You see, they say that while you're young and healthy, you want to get in with the benefits as much as possible, because when you get older, what typically happens to the cost of insurance, Joe and Mary, is that's right, it goes up. And a lot of members, when they get older, what typically happens to their health is it goes down. So we run into situations where some members, they just can't afford it. And I'll use an example. I say, so a lot of members, they'll retire, they'll be 65, they can't afford the benefit. They retire, they lose all their benefits. Now they need to go get life insurance and they can't afford it because it costs too much. And even if the members can afford it, it's hard for them to qualify because you have to have good health. So if they have any health issues, they can't qualify. So what they say is that you could have all the money in the world, but you still wouldn't be able to buy any life insurance or benefits, because you buy life insurance, you buy the benefits with your health. Money pays for them, but the way you buy into them is by having the health, right? So while you're young and while you're healthy, they always recommend to lock in because you're always one doctor's visit away from becoming uninsurable completely. So while we're here today, what we'll do is let's make sure that you can even qualify for the benefits. Okay, while we're out here, we'll make sure that you get your foot in the door, and we'll make sure you keep it comfortable at the same time. All right, and you guys will be protected. And then you just go into, and if they keep giving you some more stuff, keep pulling out your repertoire. Pull out your repertoire. Let them know we're with the best company. You're allowed to remind them, like, if you're gonna protect your family, let's protect them with the best. This is the absolute best whole life coverage that you can have for your family. And I tell people that. I say this is, and I tell them, I say this is the best whole life coverage that you can possibly get on earth for your family. Like, and I that's one thing that I like to one thing that I like about doing what I do is that I know that my clients can't go down the street and get something better for less. So I know that you're going to have the best coverage for you and your family. So you could rest assured on that. So you could tell them stuff like that to build confidence. You could pull out all of your closes, ask them if they have a gun, and if they use to protect their family, ask them if they have fire extinguishers in their house, and start pulling out your closes, and you could go back in the closes some more from there. So anyways, that's how to handle the rebuttals. That's a long, long, long way for me to hit. I could have just went through the 4 steps and been done in 4 minutes, but we broke it down and I went through the presentation with you guys today just to hopefully maybe give us a refresher, just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher on proactively handling rebuttals. The philosophy behind it is you don't want somebody to say a rebuttal, because when they say a rebuttal, they speak life into it and they put it into the universe. So if we proactively handle it and they don't say it, we're going to win. But if a guy is sitting next to his wife and he tells his wife that he can't afford it, right? He's like, I can't afford it. He told it to you, he told it to his wife. Now he's going to feel inclined to back up that argument, right? He's going to feel inclined to prove why he can't afford it, So I would rather them not even say those words, So when we're working with our agents, this is just some fire that we can teach them, because they're going to get hit with these rebuttals out there, and for them, I want them to be like, give me your best shot. I'm already waiting for it. I can't wait to just sit there and be like, and then I can't wait to go back, and I can't wait to do, so get them fired up for it. Anyways, law of explosive growth is my favorite law of all time. So if you go back and watch that 100 times, it will never, ever, ever get old. Never, ever get old. All right. So let's go develop some leaders, because that's how we're going to explode. All right. Let's go find your next leaders. Okay. As a leader, you're going to need to develop other leaders. Okay. And your first line of defense should be personal recruits. If you're going to have a couple, that are going to be, when you're a GA, you're going to have some SAs. And when you're an MGA, you're going to have some GAs. You want those people to be personals of yours, people that you went out and personally got them and personally developed, and that seems to be one of the keys to a recipe to success with the company. All right. So go out there, find some of your next wave of leaders that you're going to bring in, develop, and let's keep this train moving. So sorry for the long one today, but figured I'd give some lessons on some stuff. But appreciate your time, guys. We need to bring in a big second quarter this week. Today will be the second quarter for the week. It's Wednesday. We're at like 10 grand. So we're gonna have to gain some momentum and get the ball moving here. All right, let's keep it moving, guys. Thanks again.